Amber sat alone on a bench with tears running down her cheeks. It had been 6 months since her mom took her there and said she'd be back in a couple days. She waited. Her roommates told her it was an orphanage and people aren't brought there for a couple of days. When she was older, Amber learned that the orphanage was hundreds of miles from where she lived before. She realized that her mother took her there and didn't plan on coming back. She was abandoned. The only thing she didn't understand was why. When she got out, she decided to get an education. She finished school, got into university, and became a designer. Amber was very talented, so she was able to get into a good design company. Amber successfully completed her projects and got a good salary for it. Amber had a significant other named Christopher. They had met in the orphanage. Chris was older, so he got out a year earlier, but he frequently visited Amber while she was still there. Chris studied to be an architect and worked in a large construction company. It was Amber's birthday today. She planned to go to a beauty salon and then meet Chris at a restaurant that evening. It was an unforgettable evening. Chris organized a true celebration for her with flowers, balloons, a restaurant, and a limo. And then something unexpected happened. He proposed. He said he always loved her but was scared to tell her how he felt. Now, in her childhood, Amber thought she loved Chris like a brother, but as she got older, she realized it was something more. But she didn't say anything, happy with her friendship. Amber said yes. A year went by. Their married life was so calm and steady that sometimes Amber didn't believe it was real. Maybe they just knew each other so well that their life together was so peaceful. They opened their own business, and after 6 years, their company was doing well and earned a good reputation. After work, they went to eat dinner in a restaurant because they didn't feel like cooking. Driving home in their car, they talked about a trip that was coming up. They had worked a lot and decided to take a small vacation. "I can't wait. I'm sure you..." Christopher didn't finish. There was a bright light, a crash, and silence. Chris woke up in the hospital. Doctors told him that he was unconscious for several days. "Where's my wife? Is she okay?" Chris asked anxiously. "Your wife is next door. She's alive, but..." "But what? What happened?" Chris asked anxiously again. "Calm down. Your wife was injured more seriously than you were. She has damage to her spine, but her life isn't in danger. The important thing is for her to regain consciousness now. I think she might come to tomorrow." Chris felt chills. "What day is it?" he asked unexpectedly. "April 20th, the doctor answered. "It's Amber's birthday. Please, let me go to her for just 5 minutes. She should hear my voice and know I'm here. We don't have anyone else but each other." The doctor sighed. "Fine, only 5 minutes." The nurse took Chris to Amber's room. Chris barely kept his tears back when he saw his beloved Amber. "What you see on the outside isn't critical. It'll heal quickly. Your wife has serious damage to her spine. The doctors are meeting tomorrow to decide what to do," the nurse said. "But they can help her, right?" Chris looked at the nurse hopefully. "No one can tell you anything right now. After the meeting with the best neurologists, we'll know something." He took her hand, kissed her, and started talking. He told her happy birthday and said he loved her so much, how much she meant to him and how he couldn't live without her. Unexpectedly, it seemed to Chris like she squeezed his hand. Then she made a noise. Amber woke up. Chris was taken to his room for several hours, which felt like forever. The doctor finally came in. "Your wife has serious damage to her spine. Her spinal cord is impaired and many of her nerve endings are pinched. She will need several surgeries. But there's no guarantee she will walk again. Tell me, are you ready to walk this long, difficult path with her?" He lowered his eyes as if he expected to hear a no. "I love her more than life, and I'll be with her no matter what," Chris said confidently. Amber had 6 surgeries in 12 months. This partially returned sensation to her extremities, and she could stand and move with a walker, but couldn't walk on her own. There was another exam and potential surgery coming up. Life in the hospital, the surgeries, the procedures, and rehab had worn Amber down so much that she couldn't hold herself back. I'm done. I can't do this anymore. I want to go home. No more exams or surgeries. I'll live as long as I've been given, and I'll do it at home," she said decisively. She called Chris and asked him to take her home that day. While Amber had been in the hospital, Chris had built them a house. It was a surprise for her. She was overjoyed. "Just don't be mad or anxious. I hired help. You'll need help, and you're planning to work too. I hope you like her." Laura was a very sweet, nice woman, and they became fast friends. The first 6 months were excellent. Amber felt good, worked on new projects, and was happy with her life. But her health began to worsen soon. She stopped feeling her feet and her arms were numb. She got depressed, didn't leave her room much, and didn't want to see anyone. Conversations about the hospital made her frustrated, and she refused outright to go back. Chris was crushed. He started staying at work late because he couldn't watch how his wife, the love of his life, was losing strength and her life. One day, Laura was coming home from the grocery store when she noticed a man who was suspiciously circling their home. "Who are you and what do you want?" she asked roughly. "Sorry, do you live here? I need Amber Larson." "I work here. Christopher and Amber Larson live here. Who are you?" "I'm Peter Wilson, and I'm Amber's father. I met Amber's mother many years ago. I was poor, so she left me and didn't tell me she was pregnant. Our breakup hit me hard, so I moved to a different city. After I graduated from university, I moved abroad and got back recently. I'm currently working in one of the best clinics in the city. I'm a rehabilitation therapist. She told me a month ago and asked me to come immediately. She had cancer and was dying and wanted to make her peace before she died. She told me about Amber and how she left her in an orphanage. I only learned I had a daughter a month ago. Do you think Amber will be happy?" Laura looked him up and down and said carefully, "Let's go in." Laura sighed. "I don't know. She hasn't been happy about much recently and doesn't want to see anyone." "What do you mean?" Laura told him what had happened to Amber. Peter had a pained look, and it was clear he was worried. "Can I see her?" "I don't think it's the best time. She'll need to be prepared." Then a bell rang from Amber's room. "Amber, dear, what happened?" "Laura, you should probably call a doctor. I feel horrible." Laura thought about Peter and decided to make the most of the situation. "Amber, I already called one. Sorry for not listening. There's a rehab therapist waiting in the living room." She looked at Laura with surprise but didn't say anything. Laura rushed out to bring Peter. "Don't say anything yet. You're just a doctor that I called." Peter went in. This isn't how he imagined they would meet. Looking at his daughter, who was dying, he barely kept himself from crying. Peter gathered his strength and started the exam. He asked her many questions and carefully felt her spine, hands, and feet. He was pressing the entire time, checking for sensitivity and reactions, and unexpectedly said, "I can help you. You'll walk again." Amber and Laura looked at each other with confusion. "I spent over a year in the hospital and no doctor ever gave me hope. But you're so confident. Are you making fun of me?" "Not at all. I know what I'm talking about. If you trust me and start therapy and do everything I say, you'll walk. Read about me and the results of my work. Read the reviews of grateful patients on the clinic's website where I work." Amber felt that she could trust him. "I agree. Then we'll start tomorrow and work every day. There will be exercises, massages, and medicine." "Thank you for giving her hope," Laura thanked Peter, walking him to the door. "She's my daughter, and I'll do everything to help her." Amber asked Laura not to tell Chris. "We don't know what will happen, and I don't want to get his hopes up for nothing." Chris stayed at work late again. He even stayed at work overnight. Amber cried all night. She wasn't in the mood for therapy. "Did something happen?" Peter asked. "My husband slept at work yesterday. I bet he's having an affair." "Amber, just because he slept at work doesn't mean he's having an affair. Maybe he was just tired. This is hard on you and him." "Do you have a wife and kids?" Amber asked suddenly. "I have a daughter. I only found out recently. Her mother dumped me and didn't say she was pregnant. Many years later, I learned that I have an adult daughter, but I'm still scared to tell her." "I don't think you should be scared. I never knew my father, but if he knocked on the door and said, 'Hi, I'm your dad,' I'd be over the moon." Peter unexpectedly got up and went to the door. One moment. He went out. He decided it was time. His heart was jumping out of his chest. He took a deep breath and knocked. "Come in," Amber said. "Hello, Amber. I'm your dad." Amber was floored. They looked at each other in silence. No one could speak first. Amber suddenly started crying. "Are you really my dad? How?" Peter sat next to her and told her his life story. They talked for a long time. They both had much to say. Christopher got home earlier than usual. He went to the bedroom when he heard Amber talking to someone on a video call. "I don't know what I'd do without you. I'm so happy you're in my life. Dear, stop thanking me. I love you and I'll do everything, so you'll be okay. Now go to bed, and I'll see you tomorrow at 10. "Love you," a man's voice said. "Love you too. Bye," Amber answered. Chris was shocked. How? How could she? She was having an affair behind his back in their home? Chris went to the living room and filled a glass. He sat and thought about what to do for a long time. In the morning, he faked going to work. At about 11, he came home and went straight to the bedroom to his wife. Peter was giving Amber a massage. Chris saw this, grabbed Peter, and hit him as hard as he could. Amber jumped out of the bed and screamed, "Chris, stop! That's my father!" Chris froze. "I'm sorry for not telling you. I wanted it to be a surprise." Amber told him everything about her father and the success they'd made together. 6 months later, Amber was walking with a cane. Peter and Laura developed feelings for each other, and Peter decided to propose. They got married soon. Then, Amber got pregnant. They decided to build a big house so they could all live together. When Amber gave birth to a daughter, they named her Hope, and everyone moved into their new, big home.